Number 18, thanks for stopping in. My name is Karges, and I'm doing Sugar Ray songs in order. I'm doing the number 18th song we released and recorded for Atlantic Records. Actually, you know what? There's a couple I'm going to have to do off Lemonade. There was some unreleased stuff, like some Japanese singles or something we did, like Wango Tango, White Minority, and Wasted, I think. We just did some crazy covers, but I'll get to those. Anyways, those will be like amended or asterisks. This is Fly. I mean, there's so much to say about Fly. Fly is a song that changed our lives, and we were writing in New York City after Lemonade and Brownies tour. We had been touring, I said in the last video, we'd been touring with all these hard rock bands, Korn and Deftones, Monster Magnet, all this stuff, and we finished all that touring. We go to New York City. I don't know why we were there. I think we were there for some label business, and we got a 24-hour lockout down near, it was actually near Madison Square Garden. We were staying at the Hotel Pennsylvania, right across the street from MSG. And it was a decrepit, horrible rehearsal space. It was like, but it was great. It was fine, because like, who are we to complain? It was killer. I remember that there was the cliched lady who had, like, literally, there was a lady who collected the rent check. Like, that's how we did it. I think we had a check, who had like her hair in curlers, and she's smoking a cigarette with like a 3-foot ash, maybe 3-inch ash, not 3 foot. And literally, like, there was like caution tape I saw one time, barricading a certain room. So anyways, those rehearsal places that I remember were always a little sketchy, like you could get Chinese food or drugs delivered, anything you wanted, you could get it delivered. But not that we did that. No, we were hard at work. But anyways, so there was a really cool Irish bar around the corner, I remember too. We'd spend some nights drinking with the label there and hanging out and just, I don't know, just trying to figure out, what are we doing? They were wondering, like, who are you guys? What do you got? You had Lemonade and Brownies. What do you got now? And we were writing at this point. So we didn't know what we had. We had a bunch of just who knows what. And it was at this point we were meeting some producers, and we were set to meet Ron St. Germain, who did some 311. I mean, he's done tons of stuff, but at the time I remember we're like, he did 311. And then David Kahne, who had done just a big variety of acts. The guy was prolific as a producer and writer, and mostly as a producer though, and he'd worked with just some incredible legendary people. Jeff Buckley, which was one, which I've yet to actually dive in and really talk to David about Jeff Buckley. I would love to. Such a big Jeff Buckley fan. Anyways, back to Fly. So we're in New York City, and it was a really tough day that we actually kind of came up with Fly. We were sitting there, and I've told this story a few times before on, I don't know whether it was a video or an interview or something or whatnot, or a blog post I wrote about, but Marc was really frustrated, and because we were doing all this heavy stuff, and I just feel like his vocals weren't fitting over the demos. At that time we had a 4-track demo, like literally a cassette in like a Tascam 4-track, and so we were doing all this stuff, and it just sounded like heavy, and his voice was like singing over it, and he wasn't feeling it. He was frustrated, so he leaves, and he's like, it was not a good leave. It was like, I'm out of here, and we're like, okay, killer. And we'd reached like a boiling point, and we were all just sitting there like, okay, we're kind of stunned, and I didn't know whether he was going to be gone for a couple days, and we didn't know anything. So we're like, okay, this sucks. And so we're sitting there, and since we were there to we were going to meet David Kahne, I had bought the Sublime record. I think Stan and I just went out and bought, some 311 and some Sublime, just to kind of refresh ourselves with the tracks and the work that they had done to kind of get it in our heads. Like, okay, Ron St. Germain, okay, David Kahne. And I've been listening to Sublime record, and I don't know, I didn't consciously think of it, but those rolling bass lines were in my head, and they were stuck with me. And so we reached this boiling point, and Marc leaves, and we were depressed, and we're sitting there, and Stan leaves the room. He's smoking a cigarette out in the hall, and I knew that it was like a different point. It was like a broken moment. Like, we're like, okay, I'm going to be back at Little Caesars on 17th Street in Costa Mesa delivering pizzas in less than 6 months. That's what I'm doing. And so I'm sitting there, and for some reason I just go, I got a bass line, man. And I just started playing this thing that popped into my head. Really, really simple thing. For some reason I played the F sharp when I went to D. And we're sitting there, and I guess because it was such a ridiculously broken moment and the stuff we were playing was so heavy, I figured we had a rule in our band that you could never say, no, no, man, we're not going to do that. It doesn't sound like us. We thought that was insecurity talking when somebody would say that about a song brought into the rehearsal room. So we thought you always would have to give it a shot. You'd always have to try it, even if somebody thought it was a joke, because you never know when that muse will slip in the door and be clever, and it's disguised, she's disguised as something else. So I started playing this thing. Craig is the first person to sit. He went to his tables and he just made a beat, or whatever, his drum machine, something. And so he makes a beat. So he makes that. Rodney's sitting over there. He hasn't really moved or said much. I remember he was across the room from me. And he starts just like his hands just start going to his guitar, and he figures out the key, it's A to D. And he just starts kind of inventing this little thing. And literally the little, he just makes that up on the spot. Like he was just playing that. And he hadn't really done any of that to that point. That was like the first one he made up that literally broke open the floodgates for some of the stuff we were to write. And so he writes that, and Craig's got this beat, and Craig is such good sounds with kick and snare and hi-hat. And I'm doing this, and Rodney's doing that little like, Caribbean or whatnot influenced lick, and then Stan's in the hallway. And I think Stan was really I don't know if he was the most frustrated, but he was very frustrated. We were all frustrated. So he's out there, and after like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, he sticks his head in the corner. He goes, "Hey, I got something for that." And so I go, "Okay, yeah, come on." I press play on the thing, on the 4-track. I hit record. I'm like, I play that. Craig does his thing. Stan starts singing, "I just want to fly." He had it in his head to sing, "I just want to fly. Put your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby." And Marc years later started dedicating it to people that had passed away, but the real sentiment behind Fly, what Stan was feeling that day, what he wrote it about, was he wanted to escape a super horrible situation. We were really depressed. It wasn't good. We had just grinded out a ton of touring. The songs weren't working that we were writing. Marc storms out and left, and we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We're like, this is so awful. And so we just started playing this simple, stupid little thing, 2 notes. And then Stan comes in and sings this insane thing, and we lay it down. And I remember, I'll never forget, we were in New York City, and there was this girl we knew at the time was hanging out with us, and she started singing, not hanging out with us, a friend, and just a person started singing the song. The point of this story is that we had never heard anybody say, I never said to Stan, "Hey Stan, they're singing our song." All of our stuff was heavy. And it was so interesting to me that this little thing we wrote that day, somebody who was hanging around us started singing it. And that was like a big thing to me. I go, "Stan, that might mean something." I've never heard anybody like sing our song. They've always been these heavy rock songs. Nobody's ever gone like, "Hey, Mean Machine." It's like, so that was a weird moment. And I remember I took that moment in, and I'm like, I wonder what's going on there. So anyways, that was Fly. It was written right then. Marc came in later, and we met David Kahne. I'll fast forward this story. But we met David Kahne. Actually, Marc didn't come to the first meeting. He didn't want to come to a lot of first-time meetings. And we kind of would twist it like it was really cool, like it was like, yeah, he's like Frank Sinatra. He just doesn't do certain things or something. Our managers and I would like angle it and just say the right thing. But so we met David Kahne, I believe, the first time, and then Marc didn't want to play that song. I think he was maybe going to be, you'd be kind of insecure and naked to sing that song. It's just a simple song. And we've been doing like heavy stuff. So even though he probably was frustrated, he didn't know that'd be the song to change everything. None of us did. And so David Kahne, I remember, goes, "Yeah, I think you might want to, maybe you want to rethink saying, I don't ever want to do that." David Kahne was so interesting to me when we met him. He took a special attention to Fly, to the song that we'd come up with. And, so he took it on his magical journey of injecting so much life into it. But it was amazing that how songs get written. A lot of people think Fly was written because we tried to write some like sellout song. You just heard the truth. Nothing was further from the truth. It was written out of like desperation, and it was actually an accident because it was a diversion for the moment. So that's how the song was written. And then David took it down his journey of like working on, Marc wrote lyrics and the verse and the a bitch and verse melody. And so there's the song, you know. Let's play Fly. It was Marc's idea to put Supercat on this too. It's a great idea. From the day in New York City, cold, icy, depressing, to the way this song feels, it's crazy. I got to get the demo version. I found it in a storage bin somewhere. I should get that. A lot different than RPM and Breathe. Live, you know, I do that EG thing. Just try to keep it real straight. And then it just goes straight here. A-A-D. Just real simple, playing on the kick drum for the bass for me. Live, I'd add a little, that little, da-da-da-da. That bass you're hearing right there, that's a keyboard bass they put in. He put in like a lot of little tricky, like cool sounds, low down. But this is actually the bass that played this line on the record. I like playing the octave on the snare a lot too, right here. Just kind of round it out. Man, it was a lot of fun. You know, when we first started playing this song, it was so awkward. We first played it at the Texas Motor Speedway to a huge crowd. It was a festival, and we literally didn't know what to do on stage. It was so weird. Because we've been rocking out so hard. So we're standing there going like, what do we do? We're so used to like banging our heads that it was kind of... Oh, here's like the rocked out part. We did and didn't do live, and we changed it up. Now live, we'd go to D. The way because you have to work out that, you can't just end like that live. What we did live is we'd crash on D to kind of end that rock section. We'd do that, and it kind of works for this. And then you have Marc sing here, and we wait to come back in. I do that pause, and instead you know, live, like I said, it's cool to kind of make the song yours live. So simple. Man, when Supercat got on the track, it was like, man, that's really cool. And then at some point I stopped playing live and we do this little vamp out thing. And a lot of times we, you gotta end it live somehow. So we'd do this, A, D, and then have one last chorus after we go. Just wanna fly, and boom, it would end like that. That's how we did it live. Because you can't fade out. You don't fade out live. You gotta figure out how to do it live. So there's Fly, featuring Supercat. At number 18. That's a long video, man. I can't believe how long this one went. If you stay with me, again, I'll say it, you're amazing. But what a that song, as I was playing it, it's crazy, but the song sort of begins to take on like a different feeling. Like, I don't know, it becomes, you wrote it, but it's kind of like, wow. It's sort of, you don't know how you wrote it, it's like, it just sort of washed over us, it's crazy to write a song with your band and then it just sort of takes on this crazy life that you didn't expect. Nobody expects any song, I don't think they write, to do really, really well and be as big as Fly was. But it was such a fun thing to be a part of on that journey of having Fly blow up and do well and be on MTV and VH1 and it's on the radio all the time. It was just like, blessed is such a funny hashtag, Donnie Spada. But so blessed, honestly. You just have to say that. You feel incredibly blessed to be part of something like that and to be part of like a band with such talented guys as I was, to make a song like that and have it all work and have all the parts, the pieces and the parts come together. So thank you so much for this Sugar Ray Songs in Order, Fly, number 18. It's been a lot of fun. And we are out of here with a bass slide. Thanks for watching.